Providing asylum seekers with rent-free homes and household goods is sending the wrong message to people smugglers, federal opposition leader Tony Abbott says.
So you're upset that the Australian government is not treating you like Jesus? The Australian government is rewarding us to do criminal acts and against the law, so who is being stupid?
News Limited on Friday reported household goods worth thousands of dollars, including DVDs and plasma TVs, are being included in welcome packs provided to asylum seekers being housed in rent-free homes while their claims are processed.
In my country we can't not even afford shoes. You Australians are so stupid, and when our process is accepted, I have a car, a plasma TV, and you still have all the old junk.
The message is going out loud and clear to the people smugglers and their clients and potential customers. The red carpet is being rolled out. There is a welcome mat waiting for you here in Australia, Mr. Abbott told the Nine Network. That is the last message the federal government should be sending.
Welcome to Australia with gold, Mr. and Mrs. Asylum Seeker. We have so many benefits to give away.
Mr. Abbott said most asylum seekers should be in detention while they are being processed.
If this is the case, we will sacrifice one of our sick to show we do not want to wait in process but jump the queue.
As far as is humanly possible, we don't want to keep kids in detention, but this is taking community release to a whole new level of what looks like to luxury, he said. He said the only way to avoid these kind of anomalies is to stop the boats, reopen the Nauru Offshore Processing Center and return to temporary protection visas, TPV.
Gee, this is much better than my dirt floor home where I grew up in, being eaten alive from mozzies and flies.
If we can't stop the boats, we are still going to have this kind of problem, he said. A government spokesman told News Limited families would not keep the goods, which would remain in a house for the next people who moved in. The Red Cross has been contracted to provide the packages for more than 5 years, and spokesman Michael Raper described the packages as basic, rather than luxury, supplies.
Well, it is our rights to be compensated for coming to Australia by boat. I got sunburn and I had no shoes. I smelled the same, but the government said I needed a wash and paid me for doing so. I even get smokes daily if I follow the rules and be good. Why being processed? If my process is rejected, I get a flight home and given $4,000. Plus added job money support even that I am not Australian.
The thing that does piss me off is you asylums get this all for free and others who are in hardship have to wait in a process queue and jump through hoops to even pass the border of Australia.
Well, until Australia works out our people are taking advantage of your country with its rich pickings, we will keep on flowing in by the boatload.
That's not fair, and this is not a fair go, that Australians used to help others.
It is the government who lets us in. Honk honk, where is my free money, free car, free DVDs and free house and free rent and Centrelink payments? I am only going to send the cash home by Western Union, and once I have plundered your kindness and welfare I will fly back home and live like a king, because I am on the SB for a crook back now. Men's Help TV.
Australians do welcome strangers, but some strangers are abusing the system of kindness you give them, and not all people are in need of protection. Some asylum seekers are offended by our flag and way of life. These are mainly people who jump the line above honest people who have followed the law and done all the right things. If you are offended, then say so.
We do not care who has waited in line, or doing the right thing and process. I will jump the line and the government lets me. What is the worst that can happen? I get a new set of shoes, food, clothing, MP3 player, and smokes.
Many others do not get this. Free luxuries, and they live here all their lives or have came here the legal way.
Well, they need to play hardball and jump. It is a better deal. Rent-free and government payment. The message here is came all illegal border jumpers and boat people. Australia is a place to plunder, and Australians are so stupid. The next 50 boats are going from East Timor, forget Mexico, to America. Your money is better spent going to Australia, and people smugglers know this. Just cry asylum. They cannot always prove it, and by the time you have waited in your rent-free home and driving a car with an Australian car license, you have qualified to come in.
It sucks to be able to enter Australia illegally and be rewarded. They say it is not luxury to get all new goods when poor Australians are shopping at St. Venus and the Salvos. I have never seen pensioners get a 10k grant for being residents of our country.
I know a man who is Australian, who has to pay XXX thousands to try and bring his wife to Australia, she should try and jump the line and says she is seeking asylum, then it will cost nothing. Yes, it is a dirty trick we asylums do. But you know what, Americans can't not seek asylum. That would be a joke.
The Australian government makes honest people pay for the rights of asylum seekers and border jumpers.
Mr. and Mrs. Australia, here is a fact. Seeking asylum in Australia, or elsewhere, is not illegal. In fact, it is a basic human right. All people are entitled to protection of their human rights, including the right to seek asylum, regardless of how or where they arrive in Australia, or in any other country. In the Commission's view, all people who make claims for asylum in Australia should have those claims assessed on the Australian mainland through the Refugee Status Determination System that applies under the Migration Act. I know my rights. Bridging visas to be issued for boat arrivals Friday, the 25th of November 2011. The first group of irregular maritime arrivals (IMAs) will be placed in the community on bridging visas in coming days. As part of the new approach to asylum seeker management, the Minister for Immigration and Citizenship, Chris Bowen MP, announced today. The government announced last month that following initial health, security and identity checks, eligible boat arrivals who do not pose risks will be progressively considered for community placement on bridging visas while their asylum claims are assessed. The Malaysia arrangement presented a genuinely innovative regional and humanitarian response to the people smuggling problem, but the High Court's decision and Tony Abbott putting his political interests ahead of the national interest prevent the government from pursuing this option, Mr. Bowen said. In recent weeks, my department has been working on a framework and implementation arrangements for community placement of IMAs currently in detention. Following this work, I have now approved the first bridging visas for 27 asylum seekers who arrived by boat. Mr. Bowen said the first group consisted of long-term detainees, all single men, previously accommodated at a range of detention facilities across Australia and at various stages of their asylum claims. They are mostly Afghans and Sri Lankans. These men have gone through an assessment process prior to their selection, including identity, security and behavior checks. They will live in the community on bridging visas while their asylum claims are completed and their status is resolved, he said. People released into the community on bridging visas will have reporting conditions, and anyone found breaching these conditions risk having their visas cancelled and being returned to immigration detention.
Asylum seekers on bridging visas will have the right to work and support themselves, and will also have access to necessary health services. Some will also be eligible for support services through existing Department of Immigration and Citizenship funded programs such as the Asylum Seeker Assistance Scheme and the Community Assistance Support Program, to be determined on a case-by-case basis. Mr. Bowen said the department was continuing to assess the detention population for suitability for community placement, with initial priority going to those who have spent the greatest time in detention. These will be an ongoing, staged process to ensure an orderly transition to the community and that only suitable people are released. We would expect to see at least 100 IMAs eventually being released every month, Mr. Bowen said. The program is not targeted at people currently in detention who are refugees and refuse to cooperate with the department on removal options. Okay, I see some laws are taking place, but I still see it as illegal to jump the border.
No, it is not illegal to seek asylum. In situations of fear or torture if returned to the country I have left, people smugglers tend to be people who abuse women and children into sex slaves. This is where we as asylum seekers hope these people get busted for the crime. Did you know people smugglers can turn men into sex slaves or prostitutes? When I was a sex slave to the people smugglers, my bottom hole was the size of a penny or 1 cent, and now it is the size of a 20-cent or quarter American dollar. When the Australian government uncovered me and 6 others, we had no home to go to. So we seek asylum in Australia to be safe from abuse. My wife and 2 girls, I don't know where they are. Maybe they are safe from abuse and torture from the people smugglers.
Oh, I did not know about these situations, or you personally had a family and missing loved ones.
Well, some abuse the system, and let's hope they got weeded out of the system. And then there is abuse stories of sex slaves like mine.
I'm sorry for being pig-headed.
I see your point of view also. But I have nothing.